Into every generation, podcasters are born. Two guys in all the world, chosen ones. They alone will wield the strength and skill to discuss the vampires, demons, and the forces of darkness, to lament the spread of their evil and the swell of their number. This is the Untitled Buffy Project.
In the 17th episode of Season 4, Jonathan returns as the ultimate nerd. No, wait, this is the one where he's actually a huge superstar and he's summoned a demon to attack him for fooling everyone. The episode was written by Jane Espenson and directed by David Grossman.
Carter, did you know that Jonathan not only invented the internet, he also starred in The Matrix?
Yeah, he is, he's quite the Renaissance man.
He's a jack of all trades. A Jonathan of all trades.
A Jonathan of all, a John of all trades.
He changed the phrase now.
I thought it was always that.
It was. I mean,
yeah, I was confused.
Who's ever heard of jack of all trades?
Who's Jack? Who's Jack, by the way?
So I thought it was pretty cool that not only did he work his way into everyone's lives, he worked his way into the title sequence of this episode.
Yeah, all of the parts where they kind of cut away to Buffy, it was a cut to Jonathan.
Yeah, he's got like a James Bond pose and everything.
And I might be making this up, but I think I always skip the title credits, by the way, but I didn't for this one because I think that they teased somehow that I knew that they were going to do something with Jonathan. So I
think it was in the very first second. There was already a Jonathan shot.
Right. I know exactly how far to move my mouse on Netflix to be like, and skip, so I can save that 45 seconds. So I watched it. I'm pretty sure, though, that the title credits end with when it's the like the guitar and the drums going bow bow bow. That they show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and in this one, I think it just said the Vampire Slayer.
Oh.
It didn't say Jonathan the Vampire Slayer. I'm pretty sure that they took Buffy out of that entirely.
I didn't even notice that.
I could be making that up, but if I'm not making that up, someone should go back in time and tell them to do that.
Okay.
Anyway, this was a really weird episode.
It was, I think, I hope an intentionally weird episode.
Yeah. No, of course. And I did not know. So for the first, like, minute, I'm like, what's happening? And then the second they did the title credits, I'm like, oh, I see what they're doing. It's like a fan fiction episode.
Yeah.
Like, they're making fun of fan fiction, like Buffy fan. Oh, okay, I got it. I knew right away, like, oh, okay. I didn't know, like, what the spell was or anything like that, but I'm like, oh, got it. Thanks, guys. Who's Jonathan? Do you even remember this guy?
Well, I remember him simply because I think he makes later appearances, either that or he was in Angel. And I must have seen, like, I remember seeing him other than in high school at some point in the Buffy universe. I don't remember where he shows up again.
Right. I know that he was, like, in high school. And I'm pretty sure he was in the graduation episode. But
he was in high school because he was involved in a plot earlier. So this was not the first time that we'd seen him do some nefarious deed.
Right. He also attempted to commit suicide.
That's right.
He was going to jump off.
He's got a lot of story going on, actually, for a character who's barely on the show.
Yeah, a very minor character with a lot of like sort of meaty backstory. So, Sean, you brought up, or someone brought up to you, and then you sent to me the concept or the idea of a Mary Sue character.
Right.
Jonathan, in fulfilling his, desire in this episode, I would say this is a Mary Sue fan fiction, a Mary Sue Buffy fan.
He made himself a Mary Sue.
Right. He is the most attractive, the best fighter. He had, stars in all the movies, and he invented the internet, and he's like awesome. You can almost think that the writers like went through. I wonder how much. There must have been a lot of Buffy fan fiction even back then in 2000.
Yeah, of course.
I'm sure. They just like went through all the fanfics and like picked all of the most ridiculous stuff and put it together and made that into what Jonathan was going to be. Jonathan is a magnetic presence for these guys, or he's the center of the universe. I mean, immediately as a viewer, we know that something's not right. The characters don't know, but we're like, wait, who? Wait, what? why is this guy like so swish at everything? Well, one of the things that I love, and it's such a one of these type of, I was a total Star Wars geek. I still am. I read and potentially wrote a lot of fan fiction. Back when I was a kid, and the moment where I knew that this was just like so ragging on all of that fan fiction was when he was like at Giles's place and everyone is like taking his lead and he's like doing stuff with Buffy, like helping her with hand to hand, and then just casually off to the side he looks at a chessboard and he's like, it's like the Zerpinski defense. You almost got me there, Giles. And it's like, that's exactly what you do to like, this character, like Giles is really smart, but my character is so much smarter than your character.
I liked when he marched into the initiative and basically was just given run of the place. The guy stepped out of his way, and Jonathan steps in and he's like at least a full head shorter than that guy. And he's just like, thank you, General. He like stares up his nose.
Right. Well, and he says we've brought in our lead military defense consultant.
Right.
It's Jonathan.
Jonathan.
And then
does Jonathan even have a last name?
He's like Madonna. One of the initiative soldiers, and by the way, this episode I think is the first one that establishes that the initiative is something military because that was like a colonel.
Yeah.
One of the soldiers like whispers to Riley like, finally they brought the big guns in. And Jonathan shows up. Just like, you can tell like who you mentioned at the top who wrote this, but I don't remember. Jane Espenson. Jane Espenson and Marty Noxon, they're just like powerhouses. You can just tell that Jane and whatever the team that developed this episode, like they had a lot of fun with it.
Maybe this was one of those table rights.
I would not be surprised. Like, I know that's how, for instance, like every episode of Family Guy has a writer and a producer, but they're just, that's for show. They write that.
There are jokes from everyone.
They write it around a table. I have a feeling that this was done in a similar fashion because, like, it's tough to get all these jokes. This was a really jokey episode, even though it was treated fairly seriously.
And some stuff happened.
Yeah, some stuff happened. But yeah, it was just like full of jokes. Even if they weren't outright like, haha, jokes, like, I'm going to tell you a joke now. Stuff like, finally they brought the big guns in. And you're like, but it's Jonathan. I'm impressed that they were able to just sort of throw us into this and trust that we would figure out like, something's going on.
We didn't miss like a whole season of this show or something.
Yeah, there are a couple Star Trek The Next Generation episodes that are kind of like this, where you're like, I'm in an alternate dimension, and hopefully Data will be able to figure it out, or Worf, or something. Something's weird.
Well, there is at least one character who knows that it's going on, and that's Adam.
Yes. Very, very glad you brought that up. Adam is like our Moriarty here or something,
He's fooled, like he accepts it as reality, but knows that it's not correct. Like, to him, the Jonathan story is true, just like everyone else, but he knows something is going on.
Right. Well, there's a vampire who's like, well, hey, yeah, it's Jonathan. Don't you know Jonathan? And he's like, yeah, I understand that. But he kind of, he's able to, he has the sort of cognitive capacity. Like, he's smart enough to be like, but this guy shouldn't be popular. Like, that doesn't make any kind of sense. And also, bigger than that, greater than that is, and he says this, he's like, I'm aware of everything. And that's how he knows. He has this
spidey sense.
Yeah, he has this line, where do I have it? I am aware. Someone says, like, well, how do you, the vampire asks him, like, well, how do you know, how are you so special? Like, how do you know this when no one else can know? And he says, I'm aware, and no demon and no person has ever been as awake and aware as I am. That's pretty cool.
See, I told you something happened in this episode.
Yes. The Adam stuff, I think, is hugely important. Oh, man, Adam is so cool. I kind of think his makeup is a little chintzy. I don't know what the word I'm looking for. I don't like it. But as a character, he's really cool.
If they were making this show now, his makeup would look so awesome.
Oh, it looks so much better. 12 years. He's with that vampire, and he breaks into... I don't know where they are. They're like...
His lair.
Jonathan or something. Yeah, they like break into some place, and they're learning about Jonathan. There's a vampire there, and they've killed someone, and they reference that. And the vampire is like, oh, man, I wish I could have, fed a little. I'm a little hungry. I wish I could have, like, sucked some blood or whatever. And Adam says, you wouldn't have wanted to do that. He had a blood disease. He somehow knows that.
Right.
And then he has another great line. I love this. He says, humans sense so little of what they carry inside of themselves. He's like Marcus Aurelius with like the meditations or whatever. He's just like, or like Sun Tzu. Or,
he's like a nega Yoda.
Yeah, totally. He's super smart.
Very insightful and analytical.
Yeah. This episode for sure cemented in my mind that Adam is full of insight. We mentioned before that, his insight into vampires was, ooh, that's very unique. And the fact that he's able to break through this whole Jonathan pretense makes him even more unique. He also has this, to close out the Adam part of this show, he says, like, yes, I understand this is wrong, like, there's no way this guy is whatever, but I'm not going to do anything about it. He says, it's intriguing, this reality, but it's wrong. And then that this sort of thing always inevitably ends in chaos. And I'm interested in chaos.
So he's very interested in the ends. He doesn't really care about the means.
Yeah, totally. He's like, oh, chaos, love it. Let's see where this goes. And then we don't really get to see any more Adam for the rest of the episode. So that was our little Adam.
There must not have been enough chaos.
Of the Scooby Gang, it's Buffy who kind of figures out what's going on, though. Because she's like, wait. She has this sort of, like, residual sense, like, I'm the Slayer. Shouldn't I be the one calling the shots? Why am I the sidekick? That doesn't make sense. And no one believes her at all.
No.
At all. They're like... They all gather at Giles's house, and she's like trying to kind of lead them down the path of like maybe something's wrong, and they're like, shouldn't we wait until Jonathan gets here to start the meeting? And she's like,
this is the meeting. What?
Oh god, I love that. I have a note here. He has Swedish twins in bed. Come on,
He's got everything, man. Everything he wanted.
Yeah.
If there are an infinite number of universes of infinite possibilities, this is gotta be one of those infinite possibilities. He's got Swedish twins or sisters or something in bed, and he is better than the Slayer.
Well, it doesn't last. Things start moving quickly-ish. It's a 45-minute show. Sometimes I question like whether some of these shows should be 45 minutes. This is one of them, by the way. I don't know that they had 45 minutes of material, but we end up knowing like there's this monster. It's got this thing on its head, and Jonathan has a scar, and it looks the same. Ooh, they must be connected somehow. And yeah, they are connected somehow. He cast a spell somehow to, what's it called? An augmentation spell.
Yeah.
Augmentation spell. What a weird name for a spell. To change the world so that he's awesome. But the consequence of that is it makes a monster. That monster was terrible.
It was pretty bad.
Looked like a leathery get-up. It had like a beard, and it's supposed to be like the ultimate.
It was really
evil.
easy to see the person inside the suit in this case.
Yes, and Giles was like, "Well, yes, to get the perfect maybe it wasn't Giles, maybe it was Will. I don't remember, but it was like to get the perfect, the paragon, the best, the ideal. You have to have the worst. And when you think the worst, you think, I don't know, like
probably
Adam. Yeah, Adam. Adam's the worst. Or like the mayor or the master, like someone who's actually a threat and not like this monkey-looking guy who.
Demon of the week.
Demon of the week. Yeah, I thought that was weak. The other way that you spell.
I got it.
Right. And this demon is supposed to be like the big bad. Oh, he's a big bad demon, and he attacks two girls, and both of them get away with just like a couple scars. He doesn't even kill them. Although one of them was Tara, and obviously you can't kill Tara, but I was just like, lame. Obviously, Jonathan knows what's going on, and Buffy has kind of realized what's also, she's kind of figured out what's going on as well. And she gets her Slayer confidence back up, and they fight the demon in this area with a pit. There's a very convenient pit.
There's a lot of pits.
A lot of pits in Sunnydale. Sunnydale's a dangerous place. There's pits and missions underneath stuff, and you gotta be careful there. It's a zoning nightmare. And Buffy is fighting this demon, and she's like, "Yeah, I know how to fight it. Oh yeah, I'm the Slayer. I can fight people." And I don't know who the actor who played Jonathan was, but he is really good at being a coward.
yeah, he slowly transitions back into the Jonathan that we knew from high school.
Right, he's not quite the Jonathan at the end where he's just like, I'm lame, like he's just like a loser, right? He's just like, I'm lame and I'm not very cool. But he's wearing his suit and he's like, I'm gonna try and fight, and then he like puts his arms out. There's this thing that people do, you put your arms out and you're backing away, like, oh, got my arms out, don't hit me, like you're trying to whatever, put like a little shield up and with your hands, or I don't know. Anyway, just watch the episode. It was really good. Long story short, he is kind of the hero. He, is the one who pushes the demon down the pit. Buffy saves him. The world goes back to normal. And everyone was like, wow, wasn't that weird? And that's sort of how I felt. Like, this episode could have happened anywhere in the entire arc of the entire show. This was like, well, okay.
Yeah,
whatever.
You're right.
This didn't happen. This didn't have to happen here. We learned a little bit about Adam. I'll give them that.
But they wouldn't have had to do that. They could have ignored the major plot entirely.
Oh yeah, totally. This was a monster of the week. It wasn't like I would totally. This was a pretty good example of a typical Buffy episode. I think the next episode that we're going to talk about is a much better one, in that it was better. But it was just sort of like, yeah, it was a Buffy episode, and now it's over.